Hello viewers, Whitney here.
And Casey. And today we're going to be sitting down with Teddy author Michael David Anderson to talk about his new project, Wake.
We can't wait to talk about it. Stay tuned. Wow, we are back after almost 11 months, and this feels really familiar.
It does.
This whole setup.
It does. I feel like I've been here before. I think I had shorter hair at the time.
And we were a little more tardy.
A little bit.
A little bit more fangbanger.
But for those of us, or for those of you who don't know us, this is author Michael David Anderson.
Hello.
His debut novel was Teddy, and we kind of stumbled across Michael David Anderson and Teddy searching Google local authors, Knoxville, Tennessee, and we came across his campaign, and we joined in and advertised for it, and really felt pretty passionate about Teddy.
Yes, we did. Now, for those of you who may not know, we sat down with Michael David Anderson and we discussed the book Teddy. Now, which brings me to a very important question, because we asked about this the first time around. I know some of our watchers are very interested in the writing process. Now, it took you almost 2 years and about a cross-country journey to write Teddy. How has the writing process been different for Wake?
Well, the thing about Teddy was I didn't finish it until I moved home to Tennessee. And Wake was written entirely since I've been home. And it's interesting because it gets away from the road feel and has a very more like localized idea to it.
Well, so for those of you who haven't read Teddy, first of all, go pick it up. It's a great book, but it is a very nomadic book.
Yes.
And so you're saying that Wake is a bit more settled?
Yes, Wake actually takes place predominantly in the same town throughout the whole book. So he's in a very different situation. He's not going from place to place this time. And it kind of let me do a totally new, different formula for this book. It allowed me to have an ever-present threat from page 1 all the way through to the end.
Okay.
We had a question regarding the second book.
We're
Now,
really curious.
Okay.
we got to read the little teaser synopsis of Wake.
Yes.
And it does mention that this day is the worst day of Teddy Dormer's life. Now, considering
I don't see how that's possible.
Considering what we saw in the first book, Teddy went through some stuff.
Oh yeah.
So that's saying a lot. What makes the stakes so much higher for Teddy in this book?
Teddy is in over his head from minute 1 this time. The dream that he experiences at the beginning, it actually opens in a very similar way to the first book where he's experiencing a dream. But this time what he experiences is far worse than anything you saw in the first book.
So when we interviewed him about Teddy, he told Casey that she was going to need 2 nightlights and a blanket for it to get through Wake. So it sounds like you're living up to your promise.
Yes, this is going to be a much darker book. Like, the first one is actually sort of like...
Well, you are in the horror genre.
Yes, and I sort of see Teddy as close to PG-13 as I can write, and Wake is hard R.
Hard R, okay.
Yeah.
So definitely blanket for him would have to invest in a couple more nightlights.
Does it come with a bottle of blood?
No, it does not come with a bottle of blood, I'm sorry. But that's going to be the interesting thing about it, is it's a radically darker storyline, but it naturally evolves from what happens in the first book. Like, this book would not have happened at all without the events of the first.
So we do need to read Teddy before we read book.
Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
Now we met a specific character, a potential, I think, love interest of Teddy Dormer, which is Jessica. And we know about her that she's a unique person in Teddy's life. Are we going to be seeing anything more with Jessica in this book?
She is going to be a major role in Wake.
Excellent.
So, in the way that she actually gets introduced into the story is probably the best way she could have been introduced.
She was in the first story just a little bit, but it was a very prominent character in his life. It was very important. We just didn't learn that much about her.
You get a feeling that she's very important, but she's not present for the events in Teddy. You find out more about their backstory in the first book, and then of course, towards the end, it leads into him going to see her. Now, this one, it literally picks up the day after Teddy ends. So it starts the following morning.
Okay.
And
I'm really pumped.
So you'll be able to find out more about Jessica, and you'll also find out a lot more about Teddy himself in this book too.
Okay. I am really kind of freaking out because I'm deeply in love with Teddy Dormer. He is so awesome. Them Crooked Vultures, totally started listening to him now. Because Teddy,
I will say this, he's not wearing a Them Crooked Vultures shirt in this book. He will be wearing a Queens of the Stone Age shirt at one point.
ooh, that's exciting.
So, I mean, I'm going with some more of the band references.
So I learned all kinds of things when I read a book.
Oh yeah.
So it's a great cultural reference. So I just kind of threw that in there.
And most of those go over my head because I live in my little
She is a
bookworm nook and I don't
and
get
that's
out.
it. She's in the little cubicle at the library, and that's it. So,
It's a little
but that's
sad.
okay.
But you do occasionally run into really great books and really great characters that you pick up on and
Exactly.
you run with. And I think that was the case with Teddy. I finished the first book and I was like, no! What happens next?
It does. It kind of lives on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So
And it leads right into this one. And one of the things that I really wanted to do is, one of my favorite television shows is called Fringe. It's already off the air. But one thing that they were known for doing is every season they would recontextualize ideas from the first season, and you
that's
would get a
interesting.
different idea about it. Wake is going to do that to Teddy. There are things that you think you know from the first book that will completely change after
you did
read
that a
Wake.
lot in Teddy itself too. Like
This is going to, not only am I upping the ante across the board, but it constantly redefines things that you think you know from the first book.
okay,
Which
now you're
leads
gonna be
me
really
to
nervous.
One question. Those of us who read Teddy have been eagerly awaiting to kind of get our hands on Wake. Are we going to be left at the end of Wake with that same year? Are we going to get a third book? That's what I want to know. Is it going to be a trilogy?
Inquiring minds want to know.
I said during the first interview that
Mm-hmm.
we did that there would be a trilogy, and I have been rethinking that. So there is no official word at this point.
You mean as in more, right? He certainly
Like,
doesn't
not
mean
less.
I will say this, if Teddy does show up, you will not know when he is showing up until the book is in your hands.
That's cryptic and
So
mean.
like
Yeah,
a sleeper release?
you will
Are
not
you
know.
totally like dropping like Beyonce?
It will not be advertised as a Teddy Dormer book if it is a Teddy book. You will not know until you're already in the book.
Interesting. I'm stroking my nose.
So, but it's gonna be a while. It's not gonna be my next book.
Well, and you had said that before. You've got some other content coming up, so stay tuned for Michael
Definitely.
David Anderson. Check him out on Facebook. Check him out on Twitter. I do a lot of Instagramming with the Michael David Anderson tag and Wake Up Teddy and Teddy hashtags. So check him out there as well.
Which, if you want to follow me on Twitter, my tag is @ShadesMidnight.
So check him out.
And definitely keep an eye on Pub Slush because it is going to be up there as the new campaign for Wake. So if you want to contribute, if you want to get a little more involved, you want to get your autographed copy of the next book, check them out on Pub Slush.
Not only that, the nice thing about this is, one, there are going to be limited edition hardcovers you can get.
I'm definitely getting that.
Limited edition.
Yeah, so signed limited edition. Or there's even an option where you can get that, you can get the ebook version included. And there's even a reward tier where you can have a character in the book named after you.
Ooh. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.